something as simple as you need to pay people more.
Right.
The way things are right now, here's what we need to pay everybody. This is what the wages need to be in order to be competitive, in order for us to get the best employees and the best team members. Once we have those team members, we are actually at an advantage because we will be able to outperform the competition because they aren't making those changes. They aren't
Right.
accepting the fact that they have to make these investments. And we will actually be the ones with a full team. We will be the ones that are delivering the better service. We'll be the ones actually running at full capacity with higher revenues. And
Hmm.
we'll, so, and giving us the better reputation in the long run. So it's an investment in the business and trying to communicate that to a lot of owners, leaders in these organizations that are set in their ways is
Hmm.
really difficult to get that through to them, even though the numbers line up.
Right.
So again, it's communication and a little bit of, you know, convincing them that this is the way to go. So,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sounds good. So this is awesome because this gives me a real world example, gives me something. And, this isn't just in the hospitality industry, right? Like this paying and
oh, it's
retaining your best staff right at the moment is a big challenge. So this is hopefully going to be really useful for a lot of other um, small businesses and business owners out there who are trying to figure out how do you compete in this market. And let's talk about, so I'm going to coach Greg through how he can influence and gain buy-in with the organizations that he works with in and around this topic. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Impact and Influence. This is real life leadership coaching for incredible people who want to have more impact and influence as leaders in their career and businesses. I'm Nancy Michelle, your host, and I am an engineer turned leadership communication coach. Now, here's the cool thing about this show. I actually have no idea what the question or issue my guest wants support with today. So you'll actually get to see what it is like to be coached by a leadership coach. Often, as management, you'll come across issues with employees, may it be related to performance, motivation, behavior, or setting them up for the next level of success in their career. And to do so, as a manager, you need to have coaching skills. So I encourage you during these episodes to listen to how I ask questions. It is more important in coaching to understand how you say something than what you say. As well, pay attention to the insights and solutions the guests come up with. It is amazing what can be discovered with coaching inside the guests that they already have the knowledge for. And then look at how I gain commitment for the moving forward of the action. So today I'm really excited to have a good friend of mine, an amazing entrepreneur, Greg Scroggs. And this is so cool because Greg and I actually had a chance last week to do kind of his leadership brand study. And so now this week, let's see what Greg needs assistance with. Greg, welcome.
thank you. And it's great to be here.
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to take a moment and just share a little bit of your background and what you do, and maybe, and then we can dive into the question that you're looking for.
Oh, geez, the background, hospitality, food and beverage, entertainment, running all sorts of creating brands and concepts and seeing them through to reality and running those businesses ongoing. The most recent years, though, I've found a great opportunity to work for others and to be a leader and help restructuring hospitality operations that needed to get from small mom and pop businesses to small corporations. Just building process and creating sustainability. Yeah, and yeah, I to jump in what I need right what I'd like to talk about today, and I know we touched about that is we've had great success with communications with our management teams and etc. Getting things done. We're very project managed based, but the tough part that we discussed was getting the leaders of those businesses, the owners or the presidents, the CEOs, communicating to them that they need to make change, that they need help.
Right.
They
So
don't
let
have all
me
the answers. Yeah.
so let me clarify. Are you looking for how can you communicate better to influence leaders to communicate in their organizations? Is that
In a nutshell, yes. Yeah. How to
yeah?
communicate with them to get them to understand what we, how we're we need to communicate that to them, and we need to get better at that. So it's,
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. So, are you able to share an example with me of how you've tried to communicate this in the past? And maybe we can break it down and look at how you can move forward with improving that communication.
I think the way we've done it in the past has been very textbook in the sense of documenting a plan or documenting a project at every level, like from the beginning through to the finish. Um, Financial forecasts, ROI. I mean, all the things that would be typical that you would say, here's a great plan. And it could be a project, it could be a new product, could be a new, employee retention program. But a lot of the time, what we think is black and white and just say, well, this works and it makes sense is, it's just a bunch of data. And I think it comes down to dealing with the personalities. So we need to get better at not just delivering the facts, but again, working with different personalities, every leader is a different personality, and finding ways to communicate to them again that there needs to be change, that they need to, these things need to be addressed, or they need to be accepted, or they need to be recognized. I hope that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. So your personality type and my personality type work really well. I like my engineering background, right, is all about the data, but it's true, right? Different personality types have different ways of receiving information and gaining buy-in into what it is that you want them to do and how you influence them, right? So that they can become the communicator and execute these processes. So I'm wondering if we can just take like a small little sample. Let's just choose one little process or one little thing that you would love to see leaders communicate, and we can maybe brainstorm some ideas on how to gain that buy-in and that communication skill that you need to share with the leaders. How does that sound?
Sure.
Sure?
Yeah.
Sure? Okay. So what's an example of something that you need the leader to step up and communicate down in their organization?
Something, so I'm going to jump back again. So you want something specific that we need the leader to communicate down.
Right. So, okay. So, yeah, so what I understand, and I may have misinterpreted, you need to communicate to the leader the importance of being able to communicate within their organization. Is that correct?
I think it's more about learning ourselves, like myself, even how to communicate to that leader that what we're pitching to them or discussing with them is to get to get it to. I can give an example that I think is a real world example right now. What's going on across all sorts of different organizations and different businesses, especially in hospitality. So we've put, just staffing issues, and we've put together a plan for to retain employees and to geez, again, I'm not even prepared for the question. So basically
Okay.
I'm trying to think how to simplify it, but something as simple as you need to pay people more.
Right.
Like the way things are right now, here's what we need to pay everybody. This is what the wages need to be in order to be competitive, in order for us to get the best employees and the best team members. Once we have those team members, we are actually at an advantage because we will be able to outperform the competition because they aren't making those changes. They aren't
Right.
accepting the fact that they have to make these investments. And we will actually be the ones with a full team. We will be the ones that are delivering the better service. We'll be the ones actually running at full capacity with higher revenues. And
Mm-hmm.
we'll, so, and giving us the better reputation in the long run. So it's an investment in the business and trying to communicate that to a lot of owners, leaders in these organizations that are set in their ways is
Mm-hmm.
really difficult to get that through to them, even though the numbers line up.
Right.
So again, it's communication and a little bit of, convincing them that this is the way to go. So,
Yeah. Okay. Okay, sounds good. So this is awesome because this gives me a real world example, gives me something. And, this isn't just in the hospitality industry, right? Like this paying and
oh, it's
retaining your best staff right at the moment is a big challenge. So this is hopefully going to be really useful for a lot of other um, small businesses and business owners out there who are trying to figure out how do you compete in this market. And let's talk about, so I'm going to coach Greg through how he can influence and gain buy-in with the organizations that he works with in and around this topic, which is what I'm understanding you're looking to achieve. Correct? Is that correct?
yes.
Yes. Okay. So let's take a moment and let's take a hypothetical question. Say I was the leader that you were going to come pitch this to. Take me through how have you pitched this to another organization at this stage?
And again, we put together proposals. I'm gonna have to think this through for one moment while I
Sorry, pause.
the I'm just trying to actually like I'm better if I'm better if I am looking at things. And I can give you some great examples. Basically, it's a little bit of some wording, so that way it gives you a better idea of how we're doing it. And this
Yeah.
is basically building a complete, whether it's a restructuring or a budget for the following year, and
Mm-hmm.
we're talking down to the penny. This is what we need
Right.
to do. This is what we will
Right.
do. This is what we're going to pay. This is what our projected revenues are, and this is what our, ultimately what our margins will be. So, but we're building. You're improving hiring effectiveness by ensuring oversight, follow through on processes. We've done marketed value employee valuation propositions that have resulted in us getting our full staffing complement.
Mm-hmm.
Just marketing programs to market specifically for hiring,
Right.
for team
Yes.
members and putting a big focus on it. So not the most eloquent description, but
That's okay.
and again, I'm back to like here's the black and white, the data, and
Right.
here's what it's going to do, and not getting a reaction, just getting, well, we don't want to do that. We don't want
Got
to pay
you.
more. We shouldn't have
Got
to
you.
pay more. We shouldn't have
Yes.
to. Again, you see how difficult that is. And I'm usually not this stuck for words. I'm
It's all
because
good.
it's really that frustrating to say, well, and then so maybe that's why I would say the communication part. I just feel like we're missing something because we're at
Got you.
that point where it's
Yeah.
all the experience in the world. You're going, why don't they understand that this will work? Like, what have we done to not have the trust, or what haven't we communicated
Right.
Yeah.
So here's what I would suggest, Greg, and this actually comes from the process communication model, which was developed by Tavi Kaler and is one of the specializations that I work in, is that only 25% of the population, their base communication style is through data and logic. So if you communicate only through data and logic, or if you start with the data and logic, you'll turn, there's this tendency to not align. And so what we need to do is actually become aware that there are these other personality types, as you had commented on, right? You get these different personality types. And we want to be able to change the language to align with the different personality types. So I'm going to take this pen and put it in front of me. And I'm going to show you the 6 different ways of introducing this pen to a person. Okay. So the first one is, this is a Sharpie marker. It's very good quality. It is pink in color and will be really good and legible. Okay. That's the first step. The second style is, in my opinion, this is the best marker on the market and you should buy it. No data, no logic, just opinion. My next one is, wow, this is a really cool pink pen. It looks so cool when we write with it. The next is, oh, this pen feels so good in my hand. I love writing with it and I really appreciate how it looks. I reflect and imagine my team using this pen to communicate key words that we want to share. And then the last style of communication is, great pen, go buy it. You'll love it just like me. So do you see how a lot of that, those were 6 different personality types with 6 different ways of communicating this exact pen. One of the challenges is figuring out what the other person likes, how they like to communicate and how they like to receive information. And then taking all of your data and knowledge and wrapping it into that communication style that they want to hear it in. And when you do that, you'll actually start to feel more aligned. You'll feel more connected. You'll start to think on the same level and wavelength. And once you start the conversation that way, you can then veer into the data and then come back. Because the most adaptable person in the conversation is the one with the most influence. So now that I have said all of that, that's an example of the process communication model and the 6 different personality types for communication. Let's think about one person that you know, and let's chat for a minute through how they communicate to you, how they communicate to others. So if you can think of one person that you're trying to propose to or trying to express this idea to, you don't have to tell me their name. You can call them Joe or Betty or make up some name for them if you want, but just choose one person. So think about one person who, yep, you've got that person.
I got that person. Yep.
You got that person. Awesome. So now what I'd like you to do is I want you to reflect for a moment about how they communicate to you and how they communicate to others. So what, if you can think of a statement or a way that they communicate, that will be helpful.
How they communicate. I would say they, if it's lack of a better term, they ask a lot of questions, very questioning.
Okay.
So if we're having a discussion about something, it's more yeah, very much asking questions as opposed to telling.
Okay.
Yeah, like
So they're pulling.
even to the point of what do you think of this? What will this cost? What are the outcomes going to be?
Mhm.
Not so much talking through the process of how we're getting there, and like
Yeah.
not yeah, I hope that. Yeah.
Okay. So they're asking logic-based questions. The challenge is, are they a logic-based person? So when they ask a question, do they ask, what do you think of this, or what do you feel about this?
Probably what do I feel?
What do you feel? Okay.
It's a little more emotional actually.
Awesome.
Like more, yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So when you're more emotional, then you actually want to phrase your wording using more emotions back. So if the person says to you, what do you feel in relation to this concept or idea? You actually want to respond with, I feel, or I appreciate. And so you want to actually start this conversation and build the rapport on the emotion basis first.
Mm-hmm.
And for someone like me, my emotion basis is like really low in my perspective. So it's harder for me to do, but I've learned to adapt and use that language, right? So if you think about it from, because I know you use very logic-based communication. So when I'm going to coach you, I'm coaching you using logic. Here's the rules, here's the method of doing it. But when you connect with somebody who's emotional, you need to connect to them on emotions. So if you think about all of the benefits, I want you to see if you can change or phrase any of those benefits into an emotional benefit that this person will get by doing it.
An emotional benefit. That they could be proud of the company that they lead because it's, setting the precedent for looking at having the image of looking after and caring for their valuing their employees and their team members. So,
yes, exactly. And how will their team members see them if they do this?
Well, they're going to respect them. They're going to feel like they're treated as equals, that they're important and noticed.
Yes.
And yeah, they're going to just simply respect that person that they've recognized their team and recognize the importance and the value of their team members and employees.
Right. So now I'm gonna share with you. I'm gonna break down your language pattern just a little bit, because respected and value belong in the beliefs category, not the emotion category.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to coach you through is like just these little tiny changes in words. So respected and valued comes across as from more of a beliefs and opinion based. And what we want to do is stay with more emotion based words and things like they will appreciate you more. That your employees will feel more connected to you. They will enjoy working for you. So do you see how I'm using more feeling-based language in describing the benefit for this person? So if this person is very emotional driven, they're driven based on two different activities. One is sensory. So So sit down and align the meeting around food. Like sit down and bring a cup of coffee, offer them a cup of tea, do those types of things when you set up the meeting, because there's a sensory component. And then the second thing is really around showing them appreciation as a person, and crafting your wording, crafting those opening statements in relation to when your employees feel valued, they will appreciate you more as a leader. They will appreciate and want to show up for you, right? And so translating numbers and logic into words of emotion and feeling will cause that connection, their motivation to why they should do it as more as aligned with what you want to do. How does that resonate with you?
No, it makes sense. That's and as you know, I'm scribbling, so
Yeah. Well, the good thing is this is recorded, so you will actually be able to watch this over and over and over again. But the goal really here is actually to create the connection and treat the person the way they want to be treated. So we've always been taught this philosophy: treat others the way we want to be treated. But the reality is, what you're seeing is you're giving them the logic, the data, the stuff that motivates you, that drives you, that logically makes sense to you. Why are they not doing it? But when you're talking to someone whose motivation is through appreciation of themselves as a person, then you need to find a way to craft your message, to adjust your message of this data and logic into something that they see as value within them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So as you consider that, as you think about that concept, what else is coming up for you from this perspective?
Well, it just makes me think. I'm thinking two different leaders. Mm-hmm. That one, if we deliver, it's to simplify. It's like, we need this piece of equipment. Mm-hmm. I would never walk up to someone and just say, well, we need this, because obviously it's like, here's why. And learning quickly that kind of person is, if you put together the demonstration as to, here's what it's going to cost, here's mm-hmm. what's going to save us, mm-hmm. here's the return, mm-hmm. and here's backed up with simple things like, here's video of the piece of equipment performing right. in the exact same task that we would need it to do. Mm-hmm. Here's references from two other operators that use the same piece of equipment and have for 5 years and have been thrilled and have seen phenomenal results. It's going to make things safer. It's going to improve the quality of your business. It's going to make an impact on the guests, et cetera, and deliver all that. That communication is, there's a trust level there. They will take it and sign off of it and not even think twice, because there's a trust level. But that leader is looking at, wants just the plan, the data, the proof, and there's a trust that we've done our due diligence to do our job to make sure that we've done, this is the right thing, that everything right. they're looking at is correct. But mm-hmm. if I take that same information to the other leader, mm-hmm. who's very, as we're saying, more emotional, yes. they will still struggle to make that decision, to make that purchase.
Correct.
And that's back to, so again, that's where I'm saying, I understand it's how we approach them, because you get the other one's kind of easy, right. in the sense it sits with what we do, mm-hmm. Because we're busy building this, here's your plan. So yeah, I'm kind of coming full circle back around. They're
so
more
are both
emotional.
of these people in the room at the same time?
Could be. Yeah.
Yeah, could be, right? So the challenge is, and this is one of the great skills of communication, is learning how to balance back and forth between logic and data and emotion, right? And showing both opportunity, like being able to communicate both of those logic in a way that feels natural to you. The reason the one person connects well with you is because you both communicate on the same pattern. You both are communicating through logic, and that is your base communication pattern. And so it resonates really, really well with that person. But you've been to France, refresh my memory. How good is your French?
I can order lunch and find my way around the city. So that's
the sum total of it, right?
And I can, yeah.
Right. But you learn to adapt to being able to do certain skills in France, right? But if you were going to live in France and work in France on a daily basis, right, you would need to build the skills in French to be able to do that. Well, people, regardless of language, right, have this same thing. We communicate naturally with the people who speak the same language as us. But if somebody uses a different mode of communication style, then some of those will be easy because we'll have practiced them a lot, and others will be really hard for us to get to. And so, so it's a matter of being able to practice that skill of adapting your communication style to the one that you're observing. And really, it's paying attention to the words they use. So listen to the words they use. Listen to how they communicate to others, because they're going to naturally communicate to others initially in their preferred communication style. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
totally, yeah.
Yeah. So as you're trying to figure this out, right, you want to pay attention to how they're communicating others, how they are showing appreciation to others, because how they appreciate others is how they would prefer to be appreciated. And when you know how they prefer to be appreciated, you know what motivates them. And when you know what motivates them, you can adjust your communication to that style. Logically, it sounds right. How do I do it?
And I don't disagree. I mean, it's not that we don't do that with people that we know well or we work with, or your reports or direct reports. And exactly. I mean, I always say every single team member needs to be treated differently because everybody communicates differently. Right. And that's what I was saying earlier. I think from experience, I mean, everyone has, myself personally, I think that is not an issue when we're communicating in an operations form, and when it comes to operations or dealing with day-to-day operations or dealing with people that we're working with, just getting things done, so to speak, in the business. Right. Again, it's back to people that you don't specifically maybe spend as much time with, like you don't know you don't right. get comfortable with them and coming in. And so this comes back to this whole part of, even for myself right now, and you and I did actually, I think we discussed this, is it's interesting because now going out talking to new, it's interesting having people come to me saying, hey, we'd like you to help do what you did here for us.
Right.
It's flattering. That's great. But that's again why I'm throwing this question at you, because for me personally right now, it's making sure that learning from experience over the last, X amount of years dealing with different leaders, that we want to circumvent having those issues, because it could be the difference between doing the work and not doing the work, right? Right. Getting the job and not getting the job in the sense.
Exactly.
So, I think that's where where I'm coming from. It's like we don't want to know that we've got the right answer, but we didn't know how to communicate it to them,
right?
And get them to listen. So
and get their buy-in.
Yeah. So, I was just thinking, maybe you can, hopefully I'm not going off track, but I'm just thinking, I mean, in a situation where we're being asked, say it's a consulting position where someone's saying, we've heard this about, can you come and talk to us, or can you put something together for us, a proposal? Um, I'm thinking it's important that we actually get to know the people that we're dealing with, are going to be, I'd like to understand more about what it, how they do communicate more about them, because yeah, otherwise you're walking in blind and trying to, and then that, for me, in lack of a better term, you almost go into the mode of you're trying to now oh my gosh, I could say persuade them, but you're basically trying to manipulate, you're being manipulative, trying to, on
Right.
your, yeah, which is not genuine. Like, you're not,
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's take that for a moment, right? As you're putting new proposals and starting to interact with new people, I want you to think about, how is it that you would like to now start that session, that first kind of connection with them? What would you do differently now that you think this through?
Well, again, we're talking the coffee meeting, so to speak, and being able to sit down and just discuss, staying away from numbers. And I guess not that we don't do this. This is about learning how to do it better and do it,
Yes. Yeah.
do it the right way. Doesn't mean we don't get things done, but yeah, just getting to know what really, I've compared it to, like, well, working in the tourism industry. It'd be like selling somebody a trip. There's a difference between saying, here's what the package is. You start on Monday, you're done on Saturday, you go from here to here to here to here to here to here. That's the trip, that's the tour, you're done.
Right.
As opposed to sitting down and someone say, okay, you want to go on a tour, but why do you want to go on a tour? Because maybe that's not the right one for you. You know what I mean? Maybe you want to go, maybe you wanted to go on a cycling tour, but really it's because you like wine. But maybe you should be on a wine tour that involves some cycling. Does that make, and it could be the same with business. Like, I'm reflecting on things that you like. So, but if you said to me,
like a wine tour.
and you know what I do, so I'm like, if somebody said to me, but that's what we do, and that's why I like to think we are successful, we can be successful with, I just recently working at heli skiing. It's about, you're coming heli skiing, but it seems so simple. But why are you coming heli skiing? Like, what can we do for you that's going to make this the perfect experience? And it's the same with a business. Like, someone says, can you give us a plan to take this from here to here, or restructure?
Right.
It's how do we sell that to them? So I think it's more about the coffee of, like, well, why do you want to do this? Like, personally, even though it's your business, why do you want to do this? Why is it important to you that this happens? And from what you're saying, then I guess we got to start listening for keywords, key ways that they're speaking, communicating, whether it's, like you said, whether it's emotional, whether it's passion, whether it's
right.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, Greg, I would always recommend is, how do you feel about something? And the reason I say that is, that will connect with about 30% of the population. So the bigger part of the population is going to speak through emotions. And only about 25% will speak through logic, right? 10% will do through opinions. 20%, and this wouldn't surprise me, especially in the heli skiing industry, will speak through, like, passion of, I love it, I hate it, right? There'll be a lot of excitement and a lot of joy is through 20%. And so learning how to initially bounce those will really help your situation in the communication, and starting to go, okay, this is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing this person. Maybe you've got somebody who just sits back passively and just listens while the other part of the group does things, right? And learning to say, somebody who's being passive, what are you reflecting? Reflect on this. What is that? What comes up for you? Right? So there are these different ways of communicating, but it's really about sitting down and paying attention. So that concept of listen twice as much as you speak, right?
is really about listening to their language patterns, listening to how they communicate. Mm-hmm. So, what is one action that you want to take away from today that you're going to implement into your next communication with a business?
Well, I think it's like we were just saying, we've got to start the communication where it's not about making the decision, where it's about getting to know each other, build that
Mm-hmm.
relationship, but knowing, looking for those emotional trigger. I mean, the tells, I guess, like playing poker. What's their tell? Like, so
Yeah.
we need a list. So we need a list of tells. We need to
Mm-hmm.
do some homework to know and not the way that it's like you describe all the different personalities and different ways people communicate. And it's one thing to read, and I think you and I discussed this. I've been studied it, read lots of books about different communication styles, but I've
Yeah.
never taken the time to write down the tells. And I think for myself right now, as again, that's why I was putting this question forward, because that's when you have time to get to know somebody, you learn that if you're experienced,
Mm-hmm.
which I like to think we do. So I could take all of my reports and say, I know exactly what motivates each one of these people. I know how they communicate. I know what makes
Right.
them tick because I've had time to build that relationship.
Yes.
But I couldn't tell you what their tell is in a hurry. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's where the challenge is sitting down with people and having to build these relationships very quickly and be able to not make a mistake of miscommunicating. That's, or like I said, that's why I asked this question. It's the big struggle right now. It's not that we haven't done our job. It's not that we are 100% confident that we have the specific answer that they've asked us to come up with. But what we don't know is how to communicate with them on that
Mm-hmm.
level. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and it can make or break.
The success.
And it's disappointing because we're actually letting them down because
Mm-hmm.
we didn't communicate. If they're walking away and they've made a mistake, and they're not going to implement something or they're not going to move forward with something, and that's why I keep back saying, and again, I know you and I discussed this. We had the privilege of doing that. That's why I've taken it on, and you have to own that as a leader. You have to, if
Right.
you can't say they don't understand, it's like, no, I
Yes.
need to learn. Like, how come they don't understand me? How come they don't get this? I haven't had this
Yes.
problem before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we're in this position where, like I said, we need to own it. I want to own it, where it's like, I need to be able to come in and go, oh, I get it. I can
Yeah.
adapt. I need to
Yeah.
be the experienced leader and be able to adapt to their style. So, long way around back to, I need to know the tells. I need to be able to sit at the poker table and go, okay, that's what. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hope that
Wonderful.
is that a good analogy?
That's a great analogy, actually. That's a really good analogy. I really appreciate that. Awesome. So, Greg, just to wrap up, is there anything else that you would like to say or ask or comment on before we wrap this up?
Um, Nothing specific other than, I mean, I appreciate you wanting to chat and giving me this opportunity, and what we've talked about before has been very helpful. And I think it's you get everybody thinking. But again, it's my silent pause there, but it's like I could go on. I know there's lots more we could do, and as you and I have discussed, and I'm really excited to. It's nice having someone like yourself to lean on, that we can get us thinking and moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah, that's the wonderful bit. And communication is the key to successful business relationships. and leadership, right? So you've seen that definitely. So thank you very much, Greg, for participating today and being open to be coached and coming up with some good idea about what you should do sitting at that poker table. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you would like to receive a complimentary coaching, click the link below to be part of the Impact and Influence strategy session. I would love to have you as a guest on my show. And thanks again to Greg Scroggs for showing up and being a great leader, willing to ask awesome questions. Thank you and have a lovely day. Cheers.
Thanks, Nancy.